The next coordinate transformation we're going to look at is rotation, where we turn an object. So once again, very similar to the reflection, I'm going to type in some coordinates. So for the first thing, I'm going to type in my pre-image. And once again, I use points on my pre-image that I didn't count all of the points. I'm just going to use a couple of them just to show you guys. So I'm going to find the coordinate for A, for B, and for C, just like I did with the reflection. And we're going to kind of notice what happens. So for A, that coordinate is going to be negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 6, and up 1. So negative 6, 1. For my B, I'm going to go negative 6 on my x-axis. And on my y-axis, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for my B, I went negative 6 and up 6. And then for C, I'm going to go backwards 2 and up 3. And that's how I'll get to point C. So those are the coordinates for my pre-image. And then for my image. So I'm going to find A prime, and A prime on my x, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to go down 1, so I'm going to say negative 1 for my y. For my B prime, the coordinate for this point is going to be 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So positive 6 on the x-axis, and I went down, so negative 6 on the y-axis. And then for my C prime, that coordinate is going to be positive 2 and down 3. So positive 2 and down 3, or negative 3. Now I'm going to compare my pre-image to my image. If this is my x and my y, what do I do to my x and y in order to get to my image? What I've done here is I have rotated my object 180 degrees, and so this will be the rule for rotating 180 degrees. What we have here is if I compare, these numbers are exactly these numbers, just the opposite. So in order to get from my x, my pre-image, to my image, I'm going to have to put a negative in front of my x, just like I do with my reflection. Now I'm going to compare my y's. This number and these numbers are the same, except that this number is the opposite of this number. So in order to make it opposite, I'm going to have to put a negative in front of my y. So this right here is going to be the rule to figure out how to get from a pre-image to an image using a rotation. And so your rule of rotation will go like this. Make your x and your y coordinates opposites. In other words, put negatives in front of the numbers. And this is all for 180 degree rotation. And that's all that we're going to work with for right now. So in order to get 180 degree rotation, make your coordinates complete opposites, and that will give you that rotation. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys the rules of the transformations really quick once again. So this is kind of the simplified version. The rule of translation is that if your pre-image is x and y, then your image, you're going to either add something to your x, add something to your y, or subtract. It doesn't have to be on both of them. You could just add one thing to the x and not to the y, but regardless, you're going to either add or subtract something to your x and y. The rule of reflection, if your pre-image is x and y, then your image is going to, if you have a negative in front of your x, you're reflecting along the y-axis. And if your negative is in front of y, then you're reflecting along the x-axis. And then the rule of rotation. If your pre-image is x and y, if both of them are complete opposites of your pre-image, then you have a 180 degree rotation. So let me show you an example of this. Here's your pre-image. A is 4, 5. And then your image is negative 4, negative 5. What type of transformation occurred here? Well, what we can do is we can see how the pre-image coordinates compare with the image coordinates. and we can see that they both became the opposite. So we know that we have a 180-degree rotation. So what type of transformation do we have? A rotation. Then, here, I'll go ahead and type that too. Then our next one is our pre-image is 4, 5, and then our image is 6, 9. Sorry, I fixed that a little bit. Our pre-image is 4, 5, and our image is 6, 7. So what type of transformation occurred? Well, if I look at these, what I did to get to with the x is I added, and what I did to get with the y is I added. So I added a number to those, and so for this first one I added 2, and the second one I added 2. So that means that I'm dealing with translation, and that would be the type of transformation that occurred here, is translation. And then the last one I have is pre-image is 4, 5. Image is C prime is -4, 5. And how do these compare? Well, just the x-axis, or the x value, it became the opposite. So I'm going to look over here at my rules. And the image that has the negative x is going to be the one that reflects along the y-axis. So that is going to end up being my answer here. So this is a reflection along the y-axis. And that's how you would answer that question.